Recently, horrific stories of houses being burnt down, lives being lost, families fleeing are a reality only miles away from us as San Diegans with the LA wildfires. And for youth like me, it is so scary to know that we do not have the same opportunities in life as the generations before us, because our futures are so uncertain. I'm 14 years old. When I was little, I used to be constantly terrified of natural disasters after witnessing an earthquake and wildfire myself. And it always came back to what adults called climate change, which caused me to become obsessed with learning about the environment, whether that was listening in on conversations, watching videos, reading articles, anything I could get a hold of. And when I was finally ready and wanted to get involved, it was so hard for me to find a place that wanted to hear a youth's voice like mine. That is, until I found a local youth environmental group. Over the last couple of years, I've discovered 3 things that are at the center of a successful climate movement. And these are the 3 things I want to share with you today. When you think of climate activism, what comes to mind? Maybe natural disasters, scary statistics you've heard, or news headlines you've read. And while these are all incredibly important factors, they all focus on the problem. Our society tends to focus on the awfulness of the situation, which has hindered the movement as a whole. Instead of the solution being almost an afterthought, the solution needs to be introduced with the problem. And at the heart of these solutions are community, education, and optimism. Community. Alone, it is impossible to bring change. You're just one person lost among billions. You need a community to empower you, to motivate you, to remind you that someone is standing on your side, and for emotional stability. Often, as an environmental activist, you're going through stages of anxiety for the future, a strong loss of hope in humanity, and sadness for events that are happening. But at the same time, there are moments of pure joy when a bill gets passed or an accomplishment is made. To have a community that is going through this with you is invaluable, because it's the only space where you can be authentic to yourself and don't have to pretend that it's all going to be okay. It's crucial to process these sentiments in order to move on so that you can continue the work you're doing. Secondly, you need a community to stand with you, to make a united front. You need people who have different strengths and weaknesses as you do, so that together you are unbreakable. Community is what makes this movement so much more than saving the planet. You learn how it's also about connecting. Connecting with this beautiful, diverse, versatile quilt of people who have the same dreams as you do. At the end of the day, climate change is not an issue that discriminates. It affects you no matter what you look like, where you come from. The silver lining is that anyone and everyone can be an environmental activist, because we all call this earth our home. Personally, before joining a group, I was just one girl with big dreams, but no direction. I felt alone, crazy at times, like maybe I was the only kid at my school who cared about the environment. Through getting involved, I was able to connect with this group of like-minded youth. It gave me a sense of belonging that allowed me to put these pent-up feelings of fear and helplessness into action. You may be asking yourself, how do I find this community? I was fortunate enough to have a group to step into, but many do not. Either way, it starts with vulnerability. You have to be vulnerable enough to put yourself out there, to ask questions when you need to, and to reach out for help when you need it. Next, I want to talk about the concept of education. As most people probably agree in this room, you can't take action without knowledge of what is happening. But what I want to stress here is the accessibility to education. As I mentioned before, environmental justice is a fight that applies to everyone. People of color, who are often the most affected yet contribute the least to the problem, need to know what is happening. They need to know that they are the ones living closest to the oil drilling sites. They need to know that they are the victims of companies' greed. But most importantly, they need to know that they have the power to bring change. Another important aspect is educating youth on what is happening. Even today, in the United States, only 29 out of 50 states have standards that require climate change to be addressed in public school science curriculum. However, even then, the education only extends to the science side. Yet, solutions that are being implemented, iconic environmental activists around the world, and actions youth can take are only accessed by students if they express individual interest and have the resources to find that information. There's also this factor of fear in telling the next generation about what is happening. And that goes back to that problem-solution way of thinking, introducing the solution with the problem, telling the next generation, we have this problem, but this is how we are going to fix it. In a couple of years, this issue becomes our issue. So it is exceedingly important that we have the right tools and knowledge to fight for our futures. Related to education is the concept of intersectionality. Intersectionality refers to the idea that all forms of hate are linked, and hence disadvantaged communities face multiple sources of oppression. The climate justice movement is an incredibly intersectional one because you're not only fighting for the planet, you're fighting for the people who live closest to the oil drilling sites, which are 92% BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color communities. Racial justice. You're fighting for people to have basic necessities like clean water. Health justice. You're fighting for people to be able to breathe on a planet knowing that tomorrow is coming. Social justice. And you have the power to educate the world on this with something as simple as your voice. Being a climate activist doesn't mean attending a protest or speaking to your mayor, talking to anyone about it, or just being conscious of the environment makes you an activist. What's beautiful about this movement is that everyone has their own niche role they create for themselves, depending on who they are. Social people may become community organizers. More research-based folks, maybe lawyers or scientists, and artists can spread the message with their music, their films, their murals. You do not have to adapt yourself to become an activist. Rather, utilize who you already are. Everyone has a burning potential already, and you can be the person to ignite it. Optimism. It feels like the world is falling apart, dying, burning around us. And perhaps it is. But thinking like that does not give you anything. It is unimaginably important to find this intricate balance between acknowledging what is happening, staying educated, and maintaining hope for a better future. So how do you do this? In my life, I found a couple of strategies and mindset changes that help me stay grounded, even in darker times. I want to start with gratitude. Once you take the time to pause and look for it, there's a lot to be grateful for. Sometimes it's bigger things, like last year when grassroots organizations like mine pressured big oil into withdrawing the SB 1137 referendum, a bill that sought to require there be a 3,200 feet setback zone from oil drilling sites and places where people live, work, and play. But more often than not, it's the smaller things. It's talking to one student and helping them start their journey as an activist. It's finding people that take little actions that make the world of a difference. And it starts with observation. For example, there's an elderly man who bikes barefoot on my street, whom I see every morning when driving to school. Without fail, every time he sees a piece of trash, he stops, picks it up, puts it in a bag he brings, and keeps on going. He doesn't get any thank yous or any appreciation, and he doesn't expect it either. It's people like him who make me grateful and optimistic for the future. The second part of staying optimistic as an environmental activist is having no expectations. The second you expect something, you give yourself the opportunity to be disappointed. And if you are disappointed again and again, it's really hard to pick yourself back up and keep on fighting. I find it a lot healthier to try the most I can, hope for the best, but not let myself get personally hurt by any loss. The third thing I want to address is this materialistic mindset our society has. It's constantly like you need X, Y, and Z to be happy. And once you acquire that, there's something new on the horizon. I myself have gone through this eye-opening experience, and I've heard about it from plenty of other people, where you visit another place, see people with such fewer things than you have, and yet they are happier than you are. They lack basic necessities and human rights, and they smile more than you and I do. So it's being conscious of what you do have. Being unhappy as an environmental activist is not only detrimental to yourself and your mental health, but to people around you. Those around you aren't going to want to get involved if they see that this work hurts you. Finding gratitude in my life, stopping these expectations and this materialistic mindset are a couple of ways that I have found a grounding and have developed a belief that good things will happen in the future if we continue our work here together. So what I want to leave you with here today is a question, and that is, why are you here? Why are you fighting? I'm here for the little girl I introduced myself as, the one who went to bed sometimes and wondered if there would be a tomorrow. I fight to have a future. Thank you.